Animator's Hell is a unique fan game. Unlike most fan games, it has a special method of increasing the eye level as the night progresses. There was a comparison that Frogger25 did in one of his videos. In there he states,
"It is estimated that there are nearly 1,000 victors of 50-20. That's a lot of people who've completed a fairly difficult max mode. Twisted27, on the other hand, has only 18 known victors."
The comparison he makes is between 50-20 and Twisted27. By just hearing the statistics he shared, he assumes for every 56 wins of 50-20, there is one win of Twisted27. This should already detail the absolute scope of how hard this mode is, considering how crazy 50-20 really is. So if you are watching this guide, this means you are serious about this mode. Without further ado, let us begin with the guide. For disclaimer, Animator's Hell's final update is not released during the making of this video. This guide only covers Demo 2, which currently features only 27 animatronics, henceforth the max mode's name. Before I walk through the footage, I feel it is important to discuss the basic mechanics to obtain a basic understanding of the game's logic. Let's start off with your camera features, which are your audio decay and camera beacon. The camera beacon gives of a flash towards any camera. Upon pressing on it, you will get a cooldown of 2.2 seconds, and it will take away 1% of power. The audio decay will only give away a 4 seconds cooldown, unfortunately. There is one more feature that is exclusive to only one camera, that is the reset boiler button. Upon pressing it, it will take 4 seconds to fully process this request. Clicking out of a camera will cancel this request, but having the monitor down won't. Onto your power. Power in this game has a pretty funny function. Instead of the classic method of certain intervals draining 1% of power, each power usage, including your power generator usages, have their own timers that solely activate when they are within a certain power usage. Right, that is all the mechanics covered. The footage we will cover is from none other than Frogger25 himself. While I go through the footage and roster, it is recommended to pay attention and take notes of certain details I will discuss. Let us proceed. You may have noticed that Pixel's music box was only half full when Frogger reached her camera. This is typical when you start a night with Pixel active. The first animatronic we are going to deduce is Pixel. Pixel has around 12 ticks for her music box. Each tick takes 0.4 seconds. The rate of decrease for her music box varies depending on what hour the night is on. 16 seconds per block at 12 AM, 7 seconds per block at 1 AM, 5 seconds per block at 2 AM, 4 seconds per block at 3 AM, 3 seconds per block at 4 AM, and 2 to 3 seconds per block at 5 AM. When Luna attacks, he will give you at least 5 seconds before he kills you. Sometimes he attacks quicker than this. Every 25 to 35 seconds, Death Horse will appear outside your window banging his head every second. He will bang his head 30 times until either window breaks. Axie will give off an indicator in the computer room for his puzzle. He will progress every 10 seconds 3 times before he can kill you. Zaplord has a 30 to 40 seconds random interval to activate. When he is active, he will give you around 32 seconds before he jump scares you. His minigame mostly consists of basic Pac-Man mechanics, except the ghosts are far more predictable. Upon collecting his fruit, you will gain a 1% of power. This is extraordinarily essential information, as he can appear a minimum of 11 times throughout the night, which means you can gain at least 11% of power from just beating his games. As you can clearly tell, that was Terrence who just left. He attacks around every 50 seconds and will take around 20 seconds if left undealt with. Dealing with him will give him up to 3 seconds before he fully leaves. You may have noticed 2 instances of banging on the door. These bangs came from Abigail and Tranquility.
Do you remember Blake talking about that one of them is faster than the other while the other is slower?
This is entirely true. Abigail attacks faster by having a 45 seconds interval while Tranquility attack via a 55 seconds interval. The first hour has officially passed. For every hour there are 3 animatronics that play a major role during this time frame: Pangledang, Frookie, and Ooblik. To start off with Pangledang, if his clock is not equal with the night hour, he will give you a 17-second timer before jump scaring you. Do not worry, as when his clock becomes equal to the night hour, this timer will always reset. Frookie will also give you 17 seconds to find him on B1 B6. Ooblik will play a super loud siren announcing his arrival. As he arrives, he can only appear randomly from BABC. I believe it's time that I discuss all the vent animatronics in one go, beginning with Tynardo. Just like Pixel, his move timer decreases rapidly depending on the hour of the night. Interestingly for Tynardo, as he progresses in his own attack cycle, his attack timer will decrease by 2/3 of its current value. Next up is Frisk. He needs to be watched regularly as he is one of the few animatronics in this game that does not have sound. Interestingly, using the audio decay on any camera can work against Frisk, but you will just see Frogger using the decay on VA, as he is clearly just showing off. Now it's Breddy's turn. Just like Frisk, he also cannot produce sound, so he must be checked on regularly. On the end of his attack cycle, he will give you at least 15 seconds before he progresses again. Take this information cautiously. Without this information, a lot of players lose a lot of power when trying to shut the vent door too early on. You can save at least 1% of power every attack cycle. This might not be a lot, but within the scope of 6 minutes this can extend to at least 5%. Then for Drago, unlike the other vent entities, he is not lethal but only increases your minimum temperature by 10 degrees if left undealt with. He does this once, fortunately. Finally for Sunny, when she reaches the end of her attack cycle, her attack timer is completely inconsistent, as its rate of decrease is dependent on the temperature. The higher the temperature, the slower it is. That was indeed Night Marina, who passed by in the office. Expect her to appear around every 78 to 81 seconds. It will take her 15 seconds to fully pass your office. Her journey can be split into 3 parts. The first and last part is when she is visible outside your window. For the second part, she is moving behind a blind spot. This is where it is safe to do any tasks in your office, as the player can't be attacked without looking at her. We are already halfway through explaining the animatronics, so I will just speed up the footage from this point on. The second hour has now passed. The first animatronic we are going to discuss is BW1 and his mate George. When BW1 escapes from camera 3, he will blacken your screen around 1 to 7 seconds. Frogger gets really lucky by having his screen blackened out for a very short time. George will then take over from this point on, in which he will mimic Half Skull, except he is not lethal. Instead, he will disable all your controls for a few seconds and riddle your screen with hallucinations for much longer. Secondly is Comet, by far one of the most difficult animatronics for this mode. When he appears on the hallway cameras, he has a minimum time of 24 seconds before he jump scares you. Every 3 attack cycles, he undergoes a transformation to Nightmare Comet, in which he will hide in the basement cameras and will give you 17 seconds before he will jump scare you. In the span of the entire night he will only do this 2 times, so this part is not that big of an issue. In case you weren't paying attention, that was Shadows he just flashed on. On this version, Shadows has 2 separate routes he can take. When he enters your office, he will play a breathing sound until he jump scares you. Flashing him won't actually reset his timer. Interestingly, his interval will still carry on, so make sure to flash him as early as possible.
Go!
Frogger has made it to the 3rd hour now, halfway through the night. When your global temperature is above 85 degrees, Ewok's mask will begin to melt in the boiler room. This becomes dangerous at 3 AM due to the following events that can also occur. As you may clearly see, Frogger quickly resetting the boiler before 3 AM sets. During a power out, she serves as your countdown towards death. It's about time I explain the Gemini twins. When one of them appears in your office, you have around 3 seconds before they sneak out to take 5% of your power away. It can take them up to 2 minutes before they appear in your office. The male one requires the right piece while the female one requires the left piece. It's 5 AM, the final and hardest hour. There are still many obscure animatronics we have yet to explain, so I will bring them all in one go. Firstly is Spider. He will give you at least 3 chances to click his spiders away before he spawns under your desk and countdowns an 8-second timer when the camera is up until he jump scares you. When he appears next your television, you just simply flash right at his eyes. For Valentina, she will run from left to right or from right to left in just a matter of 2 seconds. This can make players heavily stressed, so be quick. Half Skull will appear randomly when you open up your camera, in which he will give you 1.2 seconds to react before he makes that camera completely useless. At last is Ender. Similarly to Pixel, his wires also work like a music box, except it requires a flashlight in order to push them back. Yes, and they come from both corners too. Before I finish this chapter off with the final animatronic, I want you to witness the final minute of this gameplay before concluding onto strategy.
Go!
Please. I really hope this is it.
We have reached the final animatronic, meet Dacian. He carefully resides towards B9, and will slowly progress when the light bulb is not on. Upon having the light bulb on, it will take him at least 20 seconds to push him 1 phase back. When he fully progresses, he will come from the void and showcase the coolest jump scare in any FNAF fangame ever. Congratulations for making it this far into the guide, because now we will detail the strategy required in order to beat this mode. Specially enough, we will have none other than Frogger25 himself to voice this entire chapter. Please take over, Frogger.
Howdy everyone, it's Frogger25 here. I'm honored to be featured for this video, especially considering Animator's Hell is one of my favorite games. But let's get on with the strategy. On the easiest hour, you just have to focus on conserving power. After all, power is extremely scarce for this mode, and you won't get much power conservation for the rest of the night. You can do this by closing the doors late on the animatronics and by pushing VW once. This is the slowest you will ever move, and attempting to push him back later on will result in more damage than good. For 1 AM and so on, when tension begins to rise, You can try consecutively play the night via this pattern. Winding up pixel fully, checking hallway cameras for comment or shadow, checking your vent camera for either frisk or ready, and then focus on pushing Ender away. There are many factors that can commonly break this pattern, but that is completely okay. Just keep versatile, and you won't feel very stressed with these adaptations. We want to mainly discuss 5am. This is where most players can become the most stressed due to how aggressive most of the AIs are. Because of this, most players are tempted into flushing out all their power, which I will painfully admit to using in my first win. It is okay to let Drago heat up. After all, you won't get a boiler breakdown, and Oobleck is very unlikely to come back. I would also recommend checking in on Pixel and Ender more often. They are completely haywire and require more time for them. If you do fully run out of power, don't worry, because Ewok during power out will give you at least 33 seconds before she will kill you. Finally, here are some tips to exploit your mechanics. Make sure to keep a balance on the power generator and the light bulb. Using too much of the other can cause a disrupted flow. However, inevitably, as the night progresses, you may need to rely on the bulb more than the power generator due to Daejin's increased aggression. Now onto your temperature. Your temperature has a minimum value. Factors that can increase this minimum value could be Drago, power generator, or Oobleck. So our advice is to make sure to keep your minimum value as low as possible, as it could cause devastating effects with Ewok's AI. 70 degrees is the minimum acceptable baseline. 85 degrees will be inevitable for Oobleck, but make sure you can deal with them as quickly as possible. The heater residing in the boiler room always goes down approximately every 90 seconds. It is recommended to reset your boiler around the 90 seconds mark, especially at the start of 3am, because a boiler breakdown and Oobleck event is very common then. It is recommended to use a stopwatch due to complexity in the mode's intervals. The one I use personally is Live Split. It has incredible accuracy, and it even overlays while you are playing the game. And that should be just about it. Now I will let Piracy conclude the rest of the video.
Thank you so much, Frogger, and thank you to the viewers that got to the end of this video. Like the video and leave a comment below if this guide worked for you, as it motivates me to make more guides in the future. Goodbye friends, and stay safe.